Not necessarily.
Come on, Mary, you can ask a question.
If I know you know anything, I'll just ask y'all. Okay.
That's usually how it works.
Mayor.
Yeah, I think we all do the same thing. I check the email to see if anybody said anything to me. Look at which camera? Oh,
Oh, so we don't look at you?
You can, they can't see me.
okay. Chief, watch out for all the extra cords there.
So vacancy? I don't know if, I can do it out there, I don't know about it.
Hello, ma'am. What questions do you have for us this
I
evening?
just kind of see how I can help.
We go through that about 2 weeks, somebody doing. We talked about last night, we talked about Tuesday night, we're gonna do that probably week after next. But community events. You can't think of one question, so I can say, have someone question from the audience, so they won't think nobody's here. Maybe something will happen.
Maybe something bigger.
Yeah, say something.
As long as it's on topic.
Oh, yeah, damn.
Hurricanes.
Is that what you're talking about, hurricanes? Okay.
All right, I'm gonna switch the camera angle and turn the mics on. So I got something to read.
He's got a lot of confidence in us.
He does. I'm telling you. I thought maybe something at least be on the monitor in front of us. We at least read to them.
confidence. I don't know.
Yeah. But that's kind of sort of like a lock on your door.
I think that good shower we just got kept, if anybody was coming.
Yeah, might have kept them from coming.
Just think I have church tonight. It usually rain. You take about 900 gallons of water to baptize people.
Here we go.
Good evening, everyone. I want to thank you for joining us for tonight's Hurricane Storm Prep Community Session. I'm Patrick Simmons, and I'll be your moderator for this important conversation. We're here to make sure you and your family and our entire community are prepared, informed, and safe as we head into the peak of hurricane season. Joining us tonight are key leaders who will help guide our city through emergency planning and response effort. Please welcome Mayor Michelangelo James, EMA Director Jonathan Daniels, Fire Chief Jim Blackburn, Police Chief Tommy Cox, and Public Works Director Matt Elwell. Each of them play a vital role in ensuring public safety and continuing services before, during, and after a storm. The goal of tonight's session is simple: to answer your questions, share our preparedness plans, and give you the tools you need to protect your home and loved ones in the event of a hurricane. We'll go over evacuation routes, communication plans, emergency shelter procedures, infrastructure readiness, and how we coordinate across departments. We will begin with brief updates from each of our panelists, and then we'll open the floor from questions from the audience, both here in person and those watching via live stream. For those online, feel free to leave your questions in the comments, and we'll get to as many as we can. To start us off, I would like to turn it over to Mayor James, who will speak about our city's commitment to public safety and the importance of being proactive in times like this. Mayor James?
Thank you, Director. We are grateful to be present today. One of the things that we are really grateful for is that we have a great team of people who are working together to prepare for preventive methods that are necessary in a time of emergency. And we like to say this: proper planning prevents poor preparation and also poor presentation. So we're really trying our best to make certain that things are done well and right so that our citizens can remain safe. And having both chiefs of fire and police, as well as our EMA director and our public works director here with us, it helps us understand how each portion, part, and piece works together to make the whole plan work. So tonight, I look forward to seeing, hearing, and sharing the information that we have together to make Waycross a safe place in times of storm.
Thank you, Mayor James. Mr. Daniels, you go next.
Thank you. My name is Jonathan Daniel. I'm the EMA Director for Ware County. And I've been in that position for about 25 years. I have total tenure at Ware County as of last month, 46 years. And the EMA office is located out at the industrial park. That's also where our emergency management and the Ware County EOC is located. And my primary role in that is to manage the EOC, and that's where all of our community leaders come together and we make decisions that are for our citizens, city and county, on what's going on, keeping them up to date, and directing them on what they need to be doing during the emergency. Currently, we're watching a subtropical weather event that's located on the East Coast, and we'll be watching that for the next few days. I think the main thing for that is going to be a lot of rain for our area. Nothing to really worry about as far as tropical storms, but we have a lot of rain in our area, so be mindful of that and the flooding that will come along with that. So, thank you.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Daines. Chief Cox.
Yeah, Tommy Cox, Waycross PD, and I think one of the primary things that we do when you got a hurricane coming through, or where obviously for us a lot of it has to do with preparation, and we don't stand by for something to happen. We already have people on the ground, and we double and triple the workforce, and so they'll be out there in the community. And our primary function is that is the call of service. People calling 911, and when you have an event like that, it's usually going to be power lines down, trees down, damaged property, things of that nature. But a lot of the stuff that we get calls to is preventative. And what I mean by preventative, you got to know when we've got something like that coming through, we ask and we beg, as long as you're not in a low-lying laying area. If you are, you steps beforehand to try to find a location, higher ground, whether it's family members and sometimes you may even have to look at the type of structure that you're in. A mobile home versus maybe a brick home of a family member or something where you can ride the storm out. Because where we spend a lot of our extra time is when those people choose during the bad weather to go out. And then our focus gets turned back to them. Why? Because they drive through 3 and 4 foot of water and they get drowned out. And then we have to put resources into that. And so it's when it comes to these hurricanes and things like that, it's preparation not only by us but the community as a whole. And understand, and sometimes when those people are going out, they're trying to go to a store that's not open, or they're trying to, at the last moment, get items that, to a degree, should already have. Mm-hmm. And it's like I'm reminded by the last hurricane that we had and all the damage it prevented. I'll never forget this. Everybody was rushing to get generators.
That's right.
And purchasing generators, and I'll go on record and say I was one of them to have one at my house. But as immediately as things returned back to normal, you could go to like the Facebook marketplace or something like that, and you had all these generators out there for sale. And it's almost like the possibility that it's never going to happen again. But we know better than that. I don't know what's happened to the weather here the last few years, but it's been upside down. And my 31 years, working at the police department, I don't think I've ever experienced back-to-back type events like we've been having here recently.
Okay. Thank you, Chief Cox. Chief Blackburn.
Jim Blackburn, Waycross Fire Department. One of the things we're trying to do at the fire department is be more proactive in our pre-planning. We're trying to take some of the lessons that we've learned from the past hurricanes and implement new strategies. One thing we learned during Helene is a fire truck can't necessarily navigate neighborhoods that's been hit hard by trees down and lines. So we're trying to transition to have some pickups available, and we got a plan to even put our golf cart in service as a cut team with chainsaws to get into the neighborhoods, because one of the main things we want to do, especially after the storm, is have a presence, for one, to check on people for life safety, but just to let the people know that we are there, and we, we are out checking on people. So that's one of the most important things we're doing, is just trying to be more proactive in our pre-planning. We've done a lot here in the last few months on our Facebook page and trying to get information out to the public. And, we encourage anybody, if you have any questions, call the fire department, call the police department, call the EMA director, call anybody you can outreach to find that information out. GEMA has a real good website, ready.gov, that has a lot of information, a lot of the stuff you need to build your ready kits. So I've just encouraged people to search that information out.
Thank you, Chief. And Matt.
Yes, good evening. My name is Matt Elwell, Director of Public Works. And our focus, we really focus certain divisions year-round for hurricane preparations, because we have so much infrastructure to take care of. It's not something that can be done in just a couple of months. So we work continuously to maintain the drainage systems. So hopefully that when we have those events, and it not necessarily has to happen during a hurricane season, as well as when we have heavy rain events, that we're as prepared as we can be to handle that amount of water. But I know for me personally, this will only be my second year living in a location that has the hurricane seasons. I'm used to watching for blizzards and nor'easters. It's a whole different dynamic, but with similar outcomes of just having to be ready. The slogan that we use is hope for the best, but prepare for the worst, just in case that it's going to happen. So we want to be ready. We learned a lot of lessons, like the fire chief said, from Helene last year, in ways that we could be better staged, better prepared with our teams to go out and hit the streets as soon as it's safe to do so. Because in those instances, like the first priority is, of course, to gain access to some of these neighborhoods, so that if there's an emergency, medical or a fire, or the proper agencies can get through. They're not going to be able to help somebody if the road's down with several trees. So it's very important that we get out there and do it as safe as possible, so that we can gain access in case of those real emergencies, that we don't want someone's life to be in danger because a fire truck or an ambulance can't get there. So it's very important that we focus on that.
Thank you, gentlemen. So now that we've heard from our panelists, we'll take some questions from the audience. Again, if you're with us online, feel free to post those questions in the chat, or if you're in person, raise your hand and we'll bring the mic around to you. But to start off, I have a question for each of you, and I will start with the mayor. Mr. Mayor, how does the city coordinate with state and federal agencies for disaster response and recovery?
Thank you for the question, Director. Generally, we are in contact with both state and with our national weather teams. One thing that we have to have with me is the approval of the governor. So he may send a note to me regarding all of the state, of course, but especially when we're in a weather event as we did last time. Something very strange happens. People respond differently, but I'm grateful that we have the interactions with them. We can both call. We have 1-800 numbers, but there are also some emergency numbers that we can call and make sure that if there are some needs for resources, we can gather and gain those and put those in place here in the city, which I'm really grateful for. The last time we were able to coordinate not only with the state, but also with federal government to move trees and to get rid of any debris that might have been in the way of emergency help at any given point. So I thought that was very good. The other thing is the state of the city also is coordinated with the state of the state, as well as the state of the nation. So when we hear that there's going to be a state emergency, then there's emergency lines that are given to us so we can have some power to do some things within the city. Our concern at one given point for me was when we had the opportunity to help the citizens, but they were not aware because they could not get online or they were missing Wi-Fi or whatever it was that kept them from knowing. But hopefully in this next event, should there be another event, and God willing not, but if there is one, we will have the access to getting information out to individuals. So answering your question, state and local government, as well as state and national government, work in tandem, hand to hand, to make sure resources are distributed properly amongst our citizenry.
And I can say the last hurricane, you were on the phone as soon as you could get on the phone, making contacts with state representatives, state governor, federal representatives to get those resources. So we do appreciate that. And also you, Mr. Daniels, and I'm going to go next to you with the question. How should citizens prepare if they rely on life-saving medical equipment or medication?
Well, hopefully those folks that are that has that type need will plan ahead for extra medication. One of the big things that we ran into, in it not just in Helene, but in other storms as well, we have a lot of folks that are on oxygen concentrators, and those require to be recharged by electricity. Well, in Helene, that became a big problem for our community because nobody had any power.
Right.
And nobody anticipated the power being out, 8 to 10 days.
Right.
And so those folks that are on those oxygen concentrators should have backup portable O2 bottles that they get from their provider, their medical provider, and have those as a backup to those oxygen generators. And we through public health and through their medical provider, they can get those extra bottles that they need and to be a little more prepared for the power being off for X amount, for that long period of time. In honesty, nobody really anticipated our power being off that long.
Right.
And in some places in Ware County, the power was off for a month, four weeks. And so in the city, we were fortunately in the outer edges in the county was able to get our power back on pretty quick, even though it was several days there before we had it. So that's one way that those folks that depend on those type items for their medical needs need to plan ahead with their medical provider.
Okay. Thank you. Chief Blackburn, what are some of the biggest fire-related hazards after a storm passes?
So the biggest hazards that we face will be power lines being down, arcing and causing fires, especially if it affects the service lines going to a house. Generators, I know we didn't have the problem. Valdosta had a huge problem with generator fires from them running so long, or for people laying stuff on top of them, or they're being too close to combustibles. So that's one of the things that we would definitely could face. But the power lines being down and sparking could be a big cause of fires.
So you would recommend people really study up on generators. It's just not a toy you turn on and let it just run all night long.
Yeah, going and getting a generator and just cranking it up and hooking to the power to it's not what you need to do. You need to be familiar with it. That's why we encourage, if you're going to buy a generator, buy one pre-hurricane season. Don't wait until the day of or a few days before and try to hook it up and try to learn how to operate a generator. So we'd encourage people to go ahead, if you think you need a generator, go ahead and buy that generator now and be familiar with it.
Okay. And we'll move next to Chief Cox. So my question for you is, how does the department respond to public safety threats during emergency, especially when, like I said, there's debris down and people can't travel? So how do you respond to those?
Yeah, we normally try to always have officers spread out throughout the community. So we're not housed up in one location, but we'll find a safe location to kind of work out several different, but it's just like, anything else. You're going to have trees down everywhere, and you just got to, and sometimes it's relying on some of our partners that's up here at the table with us. We got trees down. It wouldn't be uncommon for us to call the fire department, and they come over, and they were great. Or Public Works come over and help remove debris for us. And there's been many a times where we could get as close as we possibly could to an incident, and we'd have no other choice but to walk in on foot. But it's, we just got to do the best we can based on the environment that's out there in front of us.
Okay. Matt, I have a question for you. How is debris removal handled post-storm, and what can residents expect in terms of timeline?
Well, a lot of that depends on, of course, the severity. I will say, one thing that I noticed when the hurricane came through in late September, when Helene came through. I remember traveling up north, up near Athens, about the end of January, and going through some of those small towns, and it looked like the hurricane had just come through. It was, debris was still down, and we were all cleaned up here at that point, because that's the great cooperation that we have. Prior to such an incident coming through, we worked with the Ware County EMA. They contracted with an outside entity that came in to assist us with that tree removal, larger trucks and trailers to come in to help us with that process to get it cleaned up as much as possible. Out in the county, people have land that they can use or tractors to help push some of it out of the way. But here in the city, if it stacks up, some of the roads got pretty narrow down to one lane in certain neighborhoods because of the amount of trees. So it's absolutely essential that we get in there as soon as possible to remove this stuff. And our crews were helping, as much as we could. We're bringing the stuff, staging it at the mulch yard or out at the industrial park, and then they'll mulch it up. But working with Crowder Services or Gulf Services was an essential, so helpful to us in expediting the removal of all the debris. Probably some people might have seen it was out. There was a pile out behind Ace Hardware, just 3 or 4 story high pile of mulch that it was just incredible to see how much come out of that. And if it wasn't for their help, we wouldn't have been able to clear the roads and clear the neighborhoods as fast as we did.
Thank you. So, Chief Cock, you alluded to this earlier. What is the best recommendation? Of course, we all know what the best recommendation, but articulate standing water. I'm going down the road, I see a road, standing water in the road. What should a person do?
Yeah, well, most people that, if you're living through Waycross, people passing through, it's another story, but most people in the community know the areas already due to historical events or whatever. The neighborhoods know for the most part where they should be going and where they shouldn't be going. But believe your eyes and believe what you're being told. You can look, you can see, but there's too many times where people just want to
Take a chance.
drive it. And when I'm sitting here and tell you, because the number of calls we get because people say, well, I thought I could just make it through. And they end up drowning out, and then we got to put resources towards that. And more than one time we ask them, what are you doing out right now? They really just want to ride and survey the damage. And it's really the inappropriate time to be riding and surveying the damage and stuff. So believe in what you're seeing. Don't chance it. It's not worth it.
Right.
And that goes back to preparation and just using like I said, they say curiosity killed the cat. Well, that could be a legitimate scenario when you go out in these stormy situations just because you're curious.
Right.
We had a public safety official killed just north of us, out doing his function and doing, the dangers that we're expected to do. A tree fell, and we see what happened. We see what occurred there, and so, it's just not worth the risk. I mean, we're, as humans, we're risk mitigators. Some things ain't worth placing a gamble on.
Thank you for that. Mr. Daniels, what would you recommend for the Storm Ready kit? What are some things that people should have ready on hand at any given moment?
In the in the Go kit, you should have items that are pertinent to your way of life. Things that you need, like some type of flashlight, some type of lighting, some type of weather radio where you can continue listening to the weather as they put those warnings out. One of the like imported papers, insurance policies, medication. That's a big thing. A lot of people don't realize that once you leave your home and you don't carry that medication with you, then you may not be able to get your medication in a timely manner. Whether if you go to a shelter or somewhere like that, or even if you go to family and friends, you may not be able to get back to get that medication. So always have that medication in that Go kit. Any type of imported papers, again, knowing what, like your homeowner's insurance, things of that nature. It's not a bad idea to have some type of video or photograph of your property, what it looked like before, the storm came. So whenever you do go before your insurance, then you can show them, well, this is how it was before the storm, this is how it is afterwards. Those are some things that I'm sure there's other things that you can have in there, whether it be some temporary clothing, some blankets, depending on where you're going when you are asked to evacuate your house. And speaking of evacuation, we definitely want to make sure that when you do, be mindful of your pets. Are you going to carry your pets with you? Or is somebody going to keep them, or are they going to go to a pet shelter? A lot of people will not evacuate because I got a pet, I got a dog or cat, and they don't want to leave that animal. That's their companion. And so we do have available here in Ware County a pet shelter that we use in times of these major storms like that they can carry their pets to. But in that, having that readily available, knowing where it's at, and then updating the kit every so often. If you have things in there that require batteries, well, you have extra batteries in there, and making sure that everything works properly whenever you do take your kit to go.
Okay. So this next question, anybody can take it, and you mentioned shelters. What do we have in our community as far as shelters for storms or anything like that?
I'll take that. Typically, our shelters are managed by Red Cross. We go through Red Cross to open shelters for our community, and shelters can be typically the shelters we have here in Waycross and Ware County are schools. We use the city auditorium from time to time, and the Trembling Earth is a location that we use. We typically don't put out ahead of time that shelter where people are going to till we know exactly the one that will be open, that Red Cross can get open. They're the ones that's going to manage that shelter. They're the one that's going to feed you and take care of your needs while you're in a shelter. So there are shelters available. We typically turn to Red Cross for their help to manage those shelters for us. And the reason we do that is because Red Cross takes on the liability. I know in years past we used to have, and we still have a few Good Samaritan shelters, in the past. Well, Good Samaritan shelters are great in our community, and our community wants to help people. But once you open up to citizens and possibly other people that are being evacuated from other counties, then you take on some form of liability. So if something was to happen in that shelter, then you're totally liable for that. If we stay within the Red Cross shelter, they assume that liability. So we always want them to go to a Red Cross shelter when that's available.
Okay. Do we have any questions from the audience? Don't have any online either, so I have just a few more, and then I'll allow you to make some closing statements. I'm gonna go back to the mayor, and how can the public stay informed before, during, and after the storm?
Thank you for the question, Director. One of the things that I'm very grateful for with the communication here, we may seemingly over communicate some things, but I think that there's still a great opportunity there. Social media, we have a tendency oftentimes to go live as we're doing presently and give people opportunities to ask questions online on our website. You can also probably go to our waycrossgeorgia .gov. It's an app. We can go to our app
My
as well.
Waycross GA.
Waycross GA, yeah. You can go to that and you can type in things. I guess you can find out a few places that might be open or any questions you may have during that time frame. I know that just listening to our EMA director talking regarding some of the things that we do, we just try to make sure that we put out numbers and information prior to going in. And then while there, we make sure that we're interacting with the persons who are overseeing those things. And then at the end of the day, we go back to see how those things are panning out, if they need resources or if they need to be refreshed or replenished in those areas. But most times it's just us working as a team and getting information out. So you can call us here at the city, and you can possibly call any one of the facilitators and functionaries that are present with us tonight and get that information.
Mr. Dan, you want to add something?
Yeah, just to follow up on that, from the mayor, we here in Waycross and Ware County, we have a good working relationship with all of our department heads. And one thing that we would like folks to realize or to pay attention to is when information comes out through our social media pages, whether it's the cities, counties, the sheriff's office, the EMA pages, the police department's pages. And what we have strived to do over the years is to make sure that we're all speaking the same voice, giving out the same information. There's so much misinformation on social media nowadays. A lot of people see stuff on there and it pertains to some other location, not necessarily for our location, and they take that as what's happening for Waycross and Ware County. And so we've strived to, and I think we've done a good job of putting the message out on all of our social medias, whether it's through the school system, Seating County. We're all saying the same thing. We want to make sure there's no confusion to our citizens as to what they need to do and when they need to do it.
You also have a telephone alert. Is that through you that you can sign up for to get text message alerts?
Seating County both have what's called Code Red. That is a option that the citizens that they can participate in. The weather warning part of that is you have to opt into that. You can go to the city web page. You can go to the county web page. There's an icon that says Code Red. You just click on that, and in about 2 minutes you can put some information in there, and then you're notified when there's tornadoes, when there are severe thunderstorm warnings, hurricane warnings, flood warnings, and you'll get those notifications. Also in Code Red, there is a mass notification piece in that. So we can go through our 911 system. We can put out a mass notification to all of our city and county residents. If there's something that they need to know, that's particular to the emergency, we can put that out. And so that is an option that our citizens can opt into. We've had it for a number of years now, and it's a good tool to have. You can have the same app on your phone. You have the Code Red app on your phone to be notified as well. So we encourage our citizens to do that.
Okay, thank you. This next question is for Matt. Matt, I know your department, a lot of people don't realize, but public work, much like fire and police, are out during the storms or definitely right after it's clear to come out. So we appreciate all the sacrifices your department makes. But what are some things that you are doing to prepare the infrastructure to reduce storm impact, like cleaning storm drains and securing roadways?
Well, it starts at the very basic level of the street flooding, and we have, which is well documented, 27 miles of canals that the stormwater goes into, and eventually makes its way to the Satilla River, and we work, like I said, year round to keep that clear of debris and vegetation and trash, but if the water can't get to the canal, then it's going to flood in the streets. It's going to back up into people's houses and yards. So one of our very important functions is with the vac truck is to keep the storm drains clean, the boxes clean. They get clogged with pine straw, sand, rocks, trash. We found flat screen TVs in them. I mean, you never know what you're going to find when you open up a box. We have. So it's important that we start there. We clean those. We clean the culverts that, there's hundreds of miles of culverts. There's ditches, culverts under people's driveways. We need to keep that as clean as possible, because if you have a 15 or an 18-inch culvert and it's half clogged with sand and debris, then it's not going to be very effective to get the water out of the roadways and make it safe for travel. So that's, again, something that we do year round to try to keep up with. And one thing I would say that, if citizens are physically able to and want, if you have a driveway culvert or a ditch, or if there's a storm box in front of your house and you're able to, and you see that it's starting to get clogged up a little bit, take a rake or a shovel and just keep those pine needles out of there. We try to get around and sweep the streets as much as possible to prevent it from getting there in the first place. But there's over 400 storm boxes in the city, and so it takes a while to get around to each and every one of them. But if cooperation with our citizens will help go a long way if they're able to just maintain that little portion in front of their house. Could mean the difference between a flooded yard or not.
Right. And you're exactly right. I mean, you guys could come clean it today, and when those needles fall, it's clogged up again.
It could be clogged up the very next day, and it could be weeks before we could cycle back around to it, and a lot could happen in that time.
That's right. We appreciate that. Chief Blackburn, so fire department does a lot of things. A lot of people think just put out fires, but you guys do a lot of things. Tell us some of the things that you do before, during, and after the storm.
Well, before the storm is mainly preparation, equipment. We may go out into areas and try to find trouble spots that we think may be trouble with, and try maybe even give Matt with Public Works a heads up that we've noticed trees and we've noticed limbs that need to be cut back, to do some preventive maintenance. During the storm, we're going to respond as long as it's safe to do so. Hurricane Helene, we actually, for the first time in my 34 years and the hurricanes that I've been through in the city, we quit responding. I made the call at 12:30, I think, that night, just prior to the assistant chief in Blackshear, that accident happened, that tragic accident happened over there. I made the call that it was no longer safe for our people to be on the streets. The trees were falling, the limbs were falling. It was just very dangerous. So there is going to be a time, if the storm's severe enough to where, there is nobody coming. There's going to be a time where we may have to make that call again. Right. As soon as we felt like it was safe, it seemed like 4:35 in the morning, we started trying to make some quick hit assessments in neighborhoods. One of the first things we done, never thought we'd have to do it. We started at the main fire station out on 520 and Victory Drive, and we worked our way into town just to clear a 5-lane highway of debris where we could get actually back into town. So that carries us into after the storm, where we, of course, life safety is number one. We want to be out in the neighborhoods. We still have to answer the emergency calls that come in through 911, but we want people to see us. We want people to be able to wave us down if they have a need where we can address that need. And then it's just working with the police department, Public Works, clearing trees. One thing I've learned through the years is Georgia Power don't clear. They're not coming to clear roadways. Mm-mm. They're not coming until the roadway's clear. So we've got to start clearing roadways so we can get the other people in there, the other people, the power companies, the gas companies. They're not coming until we do that. So that's got to be one of our priority. But that comes after we've done all we can, life safety wise, to take care of the citizens.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Thank you. Chief Cox, one more question for you. What is the best way for residents to report non-emergency concerns during the storm?
As long as cell phone's up, use it my Waycross app. and we can get to it whenever we're available.
Okay.
But it is important, even important for the citizens to know to prioritize, even recognize what's an emergency and what's not, and small misdemeanor thefts, things of that. And they're important, but are they important at that time based on the environment that we're in, based on what's going on? To literally report it at that time, it's probably not the most important thing. But of course, when there's life or safety issues, report it immediately.
Thank you.
Patrick, just kind of,
Sure.
just one thing I want to mention, if it's kind of follow up is, we're doing the preparation now, our department's been doing, I would encourage the citizens to prepare, to start preparing. I think the standard's like 24 hours to be self-sufficient, at least 12 hours to be self-sufficient, to where you can maintain you and your family for at least 12 hours. And if you've done that, make sure that your neighbors have done that as well, especially if you've got elderly neighbors. We have a large elderly population in Waycross. Check on your neighbors, but prepare for at least 12 hours to be self-sufficient. We just never expected what happened back in September that was going to happen here, but it did. And I think a lot of people got caught off guard. So preparation now is the key for that.
I just follow up on that too, Chief. One thing that, and talking about Helene, what hit so hard in Georgia was that Helene covered 59 counties.
Right.
And so everybody in those 59 counties had the same problems we did.
Right.
So resources were stretched thin, trying to get resources to each city and county that was requesting those resources. They were hard, and it took time to get the resources into our community. And so following up on Chief Blackburn, being self-sufficient for 12 hours, 24 hours, because it's going to take a while on some of these events to get stuff to you, and trying to get in there to you with the debris, trying to get roads open, and so that's very important that they can plan for that, be prepared for that, and so that we can do what the public safety needs to do.
Okay.
If they're taking care of themselves, then we're taking care of the emergency part of the event.
And I'll say this, Patrick, and I don't know how it evaded me, but as far as the preparation is concerned, you got preparation, then you got the event happen. There's a short period of time after the event has left where gasoline. We had several surrounding counties engulfed one gas station here in our town.
Right.
And I don't know if you remember that, but it was absolute chaos. And we actually had officers at that location at 24/7
Right.
for a few days. And we actually had to call in help from the state just to help us control that. But as far as prepping and things of that nature, make sure a storm's coming, that you go ahead and get those vehicles topped off with gas. Right now in my garage, I've got like 6 or 7 5-gallon containers of gasoline, just in case. And so that's important, and citizens really need to remember that aspect. Remember,
And if I remember
gasoline.
correctly, there was only like one working ATM in town too, right?
It was.
think
I
maybe.
don't remember that. Also,
I don't know if it was. It was at the Friendly there by the college.
Yeah. Well, Prime South had quite a line too, so I just assumed they
Yeah.
were the only one. So
yeah, it
that's
seems like I do remember that. Yes, sir.
another good tip is to get some cash if you
Right.
can.
Yeah.
Get some
And
cash.
they want to follow up with that, Patrick, too. Also, the businesses need to be prepared
That's right.
for continuity of business when an event like that happens. They've closed in advance. A lot of business closed in advance, send their people home, be with their family, but then they've got to open back up at some point.
Right.
To be able to, for the citizens to go and get whatever they need. But it's important that they do their part as well, as far as them being prepared for the influx of what happens after the storm, and then being prepared. I know a lot of businesses couldn't open because the people couldn't get to work. I mean, couldn't get from their house to the job because of debris. So they have to be prepared on their side as well to be able to open back up in a timely manner.
The city manager has tasked myself and Mark Hawkins to talk to some of our larger retailers and restaurants. So if you're watching, we'll be reaching out to you in the next few days to have a discussion like this with them. Hopefully we can pull that together.
John, Gene was also going to teach that class here, that business continue.
Yeah.
I don't know the exact, I think I'd send it to
It's
you.
in
If you
August.
could
I believe
repost
it.
that?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think I had sent that to you. Gene was actually going to teach a class for the businesses about how to reopen after storms and severe
Okay,
weather.
we'll make sure we get that posted on our Facebook and through our
And I do have it posted on
newsletter.
my page now. Yes.
So I have one question, and I guess this is for the city and the county, probably Fire Chief and then Mr. Daniels. The staging, so giving out the resources, I know last year we did that from City Hall.
Right.
How does that look maybe this year?
I think we have had discussions, and this year we're going to try to do it through the fire. If something was to happen this year, we're going to do it through the fire stations. All 4 of our fire stations are kind of strategically located in geographical areas throughout the city, so they can do drive-through distribution, and we're going to try to handle it that way after discussion with the city manager.
So I would encourage anybody listening and watching to get familiar with the fire station in your neighborhood. You can go to the city webpage, click on the fire department, it'll give you the address of all those fire stations. So just in case something happened, that's where the city will give out the resources.
Actually, we'll put a map together, and we'll actually post that. We'll get a map posted on
Okay.
fire station
That'd be
locations
good.
as well.
And we'll share that also. Mr. Daniels, you know how the county plans to hand out?
We do the same thing. We have pod locations that are pre-planned throughout the county, and those for those big events where folks can drive in to get what they need, whatever's available. One thing that we did, and I'll be honest with you, we've never had to do this pod thing in my history of being the EMA director. We've never had to be able to give out the water and the tarps and the MREs and the food and things like that. So we learned some lessons as well. And so what we've done is we have to think about our people that's far out in the counties. Like
Right.
we set up some pods like in Bickley and Maynard, out at the community center, Millwood, up in Dixie Union. So those were some things that we did to help those folks out there because they couldn't get to Waycross.
That's right.
You know, the roads were blocked and things like that. So we learned from that. That's a lesson learned on our part that we got to be able to get those items into those neighborhoods so that they don't have to drive into Waycross to, pick those up.
Is that information on your website or the county's website?
It's not on any of the websites. We just make it, when the event happens and we determine where it's gonna be at, then through our notifications, we let everybody know that's where they need to go to.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So, again, to my audience, any questions? We don't have any online. So with that, I'm gonna ask the mayor maybe to make a few last-minute comments, just real brief.
Well, we've actually heard over and over again that we need to be properly prepared, and this will prevent those poor reactions and poor productive moves that we would need. I heard several things. One, we need to make sure we do a great assessment of everything going on around us, making sure we have in place all the resources that are necessary for at least 24 hours. And another place that I not only hear the assessment, but then there's an assortment of things that we need. And that thing, it may be lights, it may be medications, various things that we need to put in place. Along with that, I hear we have assignments for everybody here. Mm-hmm. So each one of us has a job. So between the assessment, the assortment, and the assignment, we are ready to go and ready to do what we must do in this community. And I think this will be helpful in the advancement of keeping us safe and sound in the days to come. And thank you for sharing numbers, maps, and all kinds of information. And this will be helpful to our community, both county and city.
All right. So I will encourage the audience that are live to remember that Facebook only allows live streams to stay for 30 days now, but we archive this on our YouTube page, our YouTube channel. So Make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel. We can go back and watch these things. Also, if you have any questions, feel free to post those in the comments. We will keep an eye on those and respond to them accordingly. We are planning another town hall with some of our grocery stores, hardware stores, and Georgia Power. So we'll get that posted in the next few days. I want to say thank you to our panelists for sharing the expertise and to all you do for being here tonight. Preparedness starts with awareness and being informed. We can all do our part to keep Waycross safe. Be sure to follow the city's social media channels, sign up for the emergency alerts that Mr. Daniels mentioned earlier. Also download my Waycross GA app. It's on iPhones and Android. And review your own family storm plans. Make sure that's up to date. Let's continue to work together as one community, looking out for our neighbors, and stay ready. Be safe, be informed, and again, thank you for joining us.